It's time for a champion guide with daddy issues. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and we are here to talk about Odin Feyfather. He is the Void Legendary that came among the Asgardian pack, and he is a very good champion. I have been very, very happy using him. In fact, I've been using him unbooked. I've been using him booked. I've been using him without masteries. I've been using him not fully leveled. And I've been loving him. And I wanted to share him with you guys just to kind of show you what he can do, build a bit of a guide on him. He is definitely an arena-focused champion, so we'll be spending a lot of time in arena, but I will talk about other areas you could use him as well. I think for progression, he can add a lot of value to your account in things like Doom Tower and Wave content as well. I think he's overall just a really good champion and will help anyone's account, but where he shines is an arena. So let's go take a look at Odin, take a look at how I have him built. We'll talk about alternative ways to build him in case you can't build him that way or choose not to. That's fine. There are plenty of other options you can do. We'll talk about his skills, talk about masteries, and then we'll take a look at where he can do some work for you on your account. So first of all, if we take a look at Odin, they really kind of knocked it out of the park with him. He looks really cool. He's got this elderly barbarian look to him. He's got the nice beard. I love all the detail that they've got in him. They've even got the little bird here. I wish I could remember the bird's name. I should know this. If you know this, drop it down in the comments. Yeah, he's done a really great job. He looks impressive. Let's go take a look at his skills first of all, just to kind of see how you might build him. I notice I don't have his A1 fully booked. This Berserk is kind of nice. Basically, Berserk increases the amount of damage a champion takes, as well as how much damage they do. So it's kind of a bit of a double-edged debuff, but it's definitely an interesting debuff. I don't feel the need to buff this up more, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to have that up to a 75% chance, but it's a 50 bookable to a 75% chance. He does okay damage. The buff doesn't work on bosses. It's an A1. He does some okay damage with it. This is really kind of his signature skill. This is a removes all buffs, 80% chance, bookable to 100, to place the decreased defense big version and the stun big version. Well, I guess there's only one version of stun. 100% chance once it's booked. 4-turn cooldown, bookable to 3. Very, very good control ability. The fact that it strips allows it to possibly strip Stone Skin. It means you can strip the block debuffs. It makes him very vulnerable to sheep, which is part of why we build him the way we're going to build him. But it's a very, very good control ability. It rivals Armand's in many ways, because Armand's doesn't cleanse before he does his decreased turn meter and stun. So he doesn't necessarily stun people that have block debuffs on there, and he won't decrease turn meter of people that have Stone Skin. And I say that because this is a very powerful ability. It's not quite Armand's level because he's not getting an extra turn almost immediately afterwards. And he does placing 2 different debuffs and removing a bunch of buffs. So he's got a lot more ways that he can get sheeped. But it's still a very, very strong ability, particularly because of the fact it does not attack. So yes, he has a void, so it doesn't really matter, but he doesn't attack, so he's not actually doing damage. He's not triggering counterattacks. Anything else that might be triggered via an attack isn't triggered as well. So this is a very safe ability to use, and it is very effective for controlling your enemy. And then he's got this Asgardian Judgment, and I'm not going to read this entire thing out there. Basically, he attacks based off of the enemy's stats and what type of damage they do. And he ignores 100% defense. And if he kills somebody, he revives a random dead ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter. This absolutely nukes. This, with enough crit damage, can one-shot almost anything in the game. And that's important because that gives him very good flexibility as both a support control champion with his A2 and a bit of a damage dealer with his A3. And that makes him very, very difficult to deal with. It gives him a lot of utility, which is why he's useful in all kinds of content, but why he's particularly useful in something like Live Arena, where you struggle to get the champions you need in, because he can fill a damage dealer role, and he can fill a support role, and he can fill a control role. He does an awful lot for your team and can be very valuable in something like live arena. But it also means he's good in regular arena where he cannot be banned as well. So this is very, very, very good ability. Finally, he has every 9 turns place block debuff buff on this champion for 1 turn, and then applies buff spread, taking all buffs from this champion and place them on all allies. That's great. It does mean that you can counter him by putting block debuffs on him, which from the Odin dungeon, if you recall, that's one of the things many people recommended, getting block debuffs on him. But he spreads all of his buffs to everybody. So if you put buffs just on Odin, you can then spread them to everyone else afterwards. That makes him very, very powerful. This is a very powerful passive, and I can't tell you how often when playing the game, this block damage would come up at the most opportune time for me when I'm playing with him, and the most inopportune time when I'm playing against him. 9 turns feels like it's a long time, but it's 9 turns for everybody's turn, not 9 turns that Odin has to take. And that's the big difference. Very, very powerful ability. Finally, he has a speed Bora in arena for 40% for Void champions. You know, I've got this wrong for a while. I didn't realize it was only Void champions. That makes it a lot more balanced. I thought this was one of the most broken auras in the game for a little while. 40% for all Void champions is great. There's a lot of really good Void champions, but it's also fairly well balanced because there are no Void mythicals, so it doesn't apply to mythicals at all, and there are plenty of really good meta champions that are not Void as well. It's kind of an interesting, do I want to go with an all Void team with Odin Faefather and use that aura? Or if I'm not going with an all Void team, can I afford to not boost the speed of some of the champions at the cost of getting 40% to all the other champions? So it's an interesting balance. And then as far as blessings are concerned, I've went with Polymorph because he's an arena Chokus champion and he has a lot of accuracy. So Polymorph made a lot of sense, particularly because people might be trying to debuff him or strip his buffs anyway. So from that, Polymorph made sense. But other blessings that might make some sense as well. PvE Brimstone is not bad, although his A2 will not place Brimstone because he is not hitting. So that's important to know. Life Harvest could be good because he's got a revive on him, so he should be sticking around for a while, hopefully surviving. That will make it harder on the other team. Soul Reap is certainly an option if you want to make sure that he's making things dead. Probably not the best option in my opinion. Temporal Chains can be very good. He's very buff heavy. The enemies might be very buff heavy as well, and as much as he's stripping those buffs, which makes Temporal Chains not quite as good, it means that they're going to slow down until he takes a turn, so you can kind of work on that. Intimidating Presence could be very good. That plays into his aura, make his aura a little bit faster as well. And then finally, Lightning Cage would actually be an interesting one as well. Lightning Cage will protect some of his buffs when he's buffed, so you can make sure that he's not likely to get stolen that block debuffs or have it removed, and it adds a little extra damage sometimes when he attacks as well. So Lightning Cage could be good. So those are a couple of different blessing options. Let's go take a look at what artifacts we're going to set him up with. Now I have mine built with 4-piece Stone Skin to give him 1 turn Stone Skin and 5-piece Pinpoint. 5-piece Pinpoint gives me the 20% extra speed, 40% accuracy, and the intercept so that I can avoid at least 1 sheep when he does his A2. And I felt that was very important to build with that. If you can't get Pinpoint because Pinpoint's not available or there's no other way to get it at this point in time where you just couldn't get yourself 5 pieces of Pinpoint to build, well, Feral could be good because the accuracy and speed's good for that. Obviously, Perception's going to be very good. I could see an argument for 5-piece Protection because he's putting a lot of buffs up. And even when he does the buff spread, those count as buffs from him. So that will actually give you additional protection on these buffs that he's putting out there. So if you don't want to go Stone Skin, Stone Skin's great. You can certainly go 6-piece Stone Skin too. That's not bad. Otherwise, things that give him additional accuracy, things that give him additional speed, things that do additional damage are good, but he doesn't need any additional ignore defense. His A3 ignores 100% defense already. The only time it would not be ignoring defense is if there's somebody with a passive that prevents that, like Harima. So it's going to already ignore the defense. You don't need the damage sets with him, which is very freeing, but I could certainly see doing a crit damage set for him, for example, to get an additional damage on that crit damage to make that damage just hit a little bit more if you're not one-shotting people with them. those are some of the different options. Again, it may depend on where you're playing with him in the game. If you're using Arena, I really do think the Pinpoint and Stone Skin is one of the best builds for him. But if you can't get the stats for it, that's understandable as well. As far as what total stats I went with him, I wanted him to be very fast. So 271 seemed to be about right. I would actually like to get him closer to 300, but my gear is just not that good. I do think I can probably get him to 280 to 285 with some additional glyphage as we work a little bit further. Having some HP and defense is very good, particularly because if you want the Stone Skin to last, you don't want to skimp out on the HP. He starts with a decent amount of HP. You can certainly play it up a little bit. Again, with the defense as well, that helps. Although, again, in Arena, you're going to be ignoring a lot of defense on your nukers. So defense is not the preferred stat. You prefer having a little bit more HP when you can. You wanted all the crit rates. Because of the pieces I have, I'm at 109% crit rate. It didn't make any sense to give an additional attack with the Masteries, so I got the extra there. I might be able to adjust that and get better stats overall. I really think 250 crit damage is a really good target number. That seems to be about where he one-shots just about everybody that I've ever fought. And then you want as much accuracy as possible. I've got over 500. Is it enough accuracy for endgame arena? Not for some of the top champions, but since we've moved away from a resistance heavy meta, there's very few champions that really have that much resistance that 530 isn't going to do enough accuracy for, but it's still worth looking at. As far as masteries are concerned, you can certainly do whatever you want with masteries. I went this route here. I wanted the extra crit damage, so I went here with crit damage. As I said, this attack does nothing for him because he doesn't do a lot of damage based off of his attack, so I went with the extra crit rate. That'll make him ideally easier to build as I get more gear. Decided I wanted a little more damage here when he's attacking with full HP because that seemed likely. A chance to increase his speed for every champion that's killed by him, so this seemed like a very good thing because he can actually one-shot champions, get him additional speed, having him taking more turns, always good. 30% chance of increasing the cooldown by 1, decreasing, not increasing. Again, very good. Since he's going to be one-shotting, he's doing more than 30%, so he's got a chance to process this. That's good. Finally, kill streak. I had to take something here. Kill streak was an option. Also, honestly, blood shield could have been an interesting option as well. Shields can be kind of a hit or miss, but he does have decent HP, so 50% shield for him wouldn't be bad either. Finally, the Stoked by Fury was not a particularly great option because I don't necessarily want him debuffed. I don't expect him to be buffed. So, this could have been helpful if he was debuffed, but I didn't want to count on that. So I felt I'd rather have some stuff I can count on. As far as the other stuff I went with here, we went down the support tree. We got the increased accuracy, additional accuracy, debuffs when they go away, gives him some turn meter control. So that's great, particularly for the stuns. Gives him additional turn meter, so he might take a turn a little bit sooner, get the stuns back out there. Puts enough debuffs out there, it made sense. Laura Steele, he's got a bunch of set stats, so that made sense. He's getting additional different stats from those sets, so that's extra stats. We want Cycle of Magic here, increase the cooldown, again, makes sense. Spirit Haste, because he's got a revive on him, it made sense to have him go a little bit faster. It's a random champion revive, but that can bail you out quite often, so if somebody dies, make him go faster. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. Master Hexer only applies to Berserk and the decreased defense, but it gave me an in here, and it made more sense for me than Sniper, in my opinion. And then finally, we get Eagle Eye for the increased accuracy. I did not go with War Master because I'm not going PvE. Same with Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer makes no sense on him. It would be War Master or nothing. Helm Smasher also doesn't make sense because, again, he already ignores 100% of the enemy's defense on that big nuke, and his A1 doesn't hit for enough damage to make Helm Smasher make any sense on. If you decide to not go down the offense tree, then I'd go with the defense tree. If I'm going for PvE, I would go this side with Tough Skin and then go in with Blast Proof. If I'm going PvP, I'm going to take the Defiant because then that gets me this improved parry, which is reduced damage reduction when you're critical hit. Eventually go to pick out Delayed Death. And then I think Cycle of Revenge is a good one for you because anytime you get critically hit, you get turn meter boost, I think is particularly good. He's not going to be worth counterattacking with some of these abilities right here. You're not going to be putting him, he's got a 100% chance to stun, so you don't need Fearsome Presence. If you're going with a Resistance build, you can certainly head down this direction as well, but I don't see Resistance being particularly great on Odin. I think I'd rather go Lightning Cage or just go with the accuracy. I don't think Resistance buys him a lot of additional viability. So let's go take him out. I'll show him in some arena first, and then we'll talk about other things that you can do with him as well. All right, so here's a good sample team. Now, this is definitely not a very free-to-play team here, but we've got Odin in the lead because I have all voids in this thing. We've got Sify here to help take control of the speed. We've got Yumiko to lock everybody out. And then we finally got Georgia to clean everybody up with damage. And Odin here basically provides the aura lead. He will do some stripping and stunnage as well. That means that if I have to worry about Stone Skin on more than one champion, because Georgia can ignore it on one, Odin can possibly strip it off a couple champions and then go from there. The other thing is he does do, which I didn't mention, he actually can steal buffs on his A3. So there's always a shot that he can take out Stone Skin with his A3 as well if you're desperate. So let's go in there. I'm not going to put this on auto. We'll give this a quick try. Now, this team is not very fast, so I expect to outspeed this one and kill this team pretty quickly. But here we go. We lock everybody out. Looks like they've got a high resistance Krisk, which is fine. Let's see if we can strip everybody. Look at that. We even stripped the Stone Skin off of UDK, which is wonderful. And Georgia did not do enough damage against UDK. That's a little annoying. So, on the other hand, now we get a chance to see Odin nuke, and Odin, wow, did not quite kill UDK. He hadn't taken a turn yet, so he may not have crit. UDK, super tanky. That's fine. We're still doing okay because we locked everybody out. But again, Odin doing a ton of damage. And he actually didn't do too bad with that A1 either. So, yeah, didn't work as planned, but we locked everybody out. And Odin was a big part of that. Helped quite a bit. All in all, big victory there. Let's go find another team here. This is a good team here. This is an Armand's team. So we want to be able to outspeed them. We want to be able to control the Armands. We are not going to be able to stun the Narcissus in this team because Ankora is going to prevent the stun. But let's give this a try and see how this works. The other advantage we have is the lockout should help. This is probably one of the rougher teams we're going to deal with because you need to lock out Armands. You need to lock out Narcissus, and Ankora can help recover Narcissus so Narcissus can take a turn and nuke everybody. So we were not fast enough to avoid everything, but we did manage to avoid most of the turn meter control. Now we get a chance to get her to lock everybody out. That's great. We're going to... Who do we want to kill? Let's just kill Narcissus. See, he just one-shot a Narcissus. That was great. All right. Put the sleep up here. Can we strip? No. So let's lock out Ankora because if she brings Narcissus back, that's bad. Take him out. Duchess is still locked out, so we are in great shape. Don't get the stuff back, but we got that block damage. That's great. There we go. So a lot of control. Very good. Let's go try another team. I've got a couple other teams with him. All right. So this is a different style of team. We've got Armand's here for some speed, and I've got his speed aura because we only have 2 voids, and I want to make sure that Ankora goes fast as well because I prefer to have Ankora go before Narcissus. So we're going to take Armand's here, have him go first in the lead. We've got 2 different types of controls here, and if Armand's locks everybody out, I can then use Odin's nuke to just nuke somebody, and if Armand's does not knock everybody out, I can then use Odin to then finish the lockout as well. So this gives me a lot of different control. It gives me a secondary option to revive in case Ankora dies. Overall, it's a fun team here, and on top of that, Narcissus and Odin should be able to do damage against Taurus fairly well. So let's go in and take this off auto and give this a try. All right, so lots of stone skin there. So I want to save myself from Taurus first, and that strips some other stuff. Okay, so we survived that. So let us see if we can strip everybody and stun. We stripped most of them, could stun most of them. Now, Narcissus, now that nobody is under stone skin anymore, should be able to nuke almost everybody down. We're in great shape. We got the block damage here. And Cora is still in good shape. Let's steal some of that turn meter. And then Odin here will smack Taurus. Did enough to kill him. Did not do enough to kill him if he had full HP because of some of his mitigation, but did enough to kill him. There we go. So hopefully that shows you the power of Odin. He is very flexible, very useful, useful in killing, useful in control. Just a great champion for Arena. And with that aura, you can use him in all kinds of different teams. Any team that needs strippage, any team that needs control, or any team that needs an additional damage dealer that can double as a reviver. You know, he is super flexible and great for Arena. But what about PvE? You know, some of you guys may pull him early. He may be your first Void Lego, which is great. Congratulations. So where might you use him in PvP? So where might you use him in PvE? Let's go take a look. All right, so we've here on floor 99 in Doom Tower to take a look at a team that's definitely a lot more accessible. We've got Haikatoon, who's the 30-day login. We've got Vizix and Syl, which are login champions. We've got Thor, which was one of the more recent fusions we had. And of course, we've got Odin. So Haikatoon, Syl, Vizix, and Odin are there basically to control the waves, with Thor being a damage dealer there to kind of do the damage. So we're not going to do this on auto. We're going to manual this because we can, and we're going to basically try to walk ourselves up through this floor. Just didn't want to auto that. Odin goes first, stuns everybody, which means Syl doesn't need to do her AoE, so Syl can just kind of do her thing. Let Thor beat people down. Vizix, everyone's got the decreased speed, so we'll still save her provoke. Oh, I got the provoke because I've got her in Relentless. Haikatoon can do a little damage in turn meter. Odin could kill somebody, but we'll just save that instant kill for a time when we need to get bailed out. But as you see here, this is a mostly control led by Thor. Thor will get his, Odin will get his other stuff back, so we can do that kill. And we're just cruising through this floor without too much problem. Now, this is a Cupidus floor, but there's no Venus here, so Cupidus does not have the reply attack, which is good, but we're going to stun them anyway. So that is definitely not a problem. Get some decreased speed knocking out. Thor just decides to kill everybody, so that's fine too. Thank you, Thor. Get you hit. Syl get some stuns out. Would have liked a few more, but that's fine. Get some damage out. I don't have the provoke because you haven't been taking a lot of turns. That's fine. Oh, good. I can nuke you because you're most damaging. We got the block damage in here too, so that saved. We did not need the revive here from Vizix. So, and yes, I understand I've got some pretty decent gear on these folks, but this is just an idea of what you can do for some wave control with free or mostly free champions, and the type of thing you could certainly use Odin for. You could certainly auto this as well if you wanted to. I mean, this has been mostly on auto as far as I can tell anyway. I've just been clicking a few things here or there, mostly not holding off on abilities. But yeah, just I put this on auto at this point in time, and this team will mop up this floor without too much of a problem. You know, turn count isn't even that bad. 43 turns, it said, it looks like. My best is 22 with a quick 30-second clear team, and that worked pretty well. And that's really where Odin's going to be really good at. He's not going to be a boss killer because he's going to have the max HP limit against bosses. Although, again, a 10% max HP hit against bosses is still huge. So he can still be good against damaging some of these bosses. He doesn't have a multi-hitter, so he's not going to be great against Fire Knight. The block damage could be very good against Ice Golem. So he'll basically bring that out on occasion, and Ice Golem, if they get the retribution, may not kill somebody they would have killed otherwise. So that's great. For Spider, since he can stun absolutely everybody in Spider, he can be very good for progression in Spider if you're worried about controlling the Spiderlings. So that's a great option as well. Plus, he puts the decreased defense out as well, which is very, very good. There are plenty of places where Odin's kit plays, but PvP is really where he's at his best. But hopefully you found this guide interesting. Hopefully this has been a good look into what you could do with an Odin. I really hope that you're getting an Odin for the first time and you're like, oh boy, I'm super excited to use him. And that's how you found this video, because that would be awesome. And congratulations if that's the case. And if not, you're just kind of looking because you'd like an Odin. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. If you found this interesting and educational, hit that like, hit that subscribe to get more of these videos. Definitely appreciate you guys hanging out. So until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.